previously on Coffee with Kenobi.
Just as a way to have a nice, fun, way to commemorate my time on the show here. And we're sitting here in Dan's office together, looking at each other, and it's like looking into a mirror. It's great.
It's good for you.
Oh, boy.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Live from the Coffee with Kenobi studios in Central Illinois, we are on the air with Cory Clubb and James Arnold Taylor. Tom Gross will do the news. Leland Shee will join us later in the show with a pre-recorded segment we did at Celebration Orlando. We will look at May the 4th as a Star Wars holiday, as well as talk a little bit more about the formation of the new format. So first off, I want to thank everybody for joining me on this new iteration of the show. I believe in Coffee with Kenobi. I love what Cory and I have created with this podcast and the website, and think that this next phase will be another step in a positive direction. I believe this new format will allow for more guests, more topics, and more voices on the show, which has always been the goal Cory and I initially set. The new iteration was something that we didn't take lightly. There are values of the show that I always want to keep, and that is no spoilers, insight and analysis from a place of intelligence and humor. That's an important part of it. The discussion is such a key component of Coffee with Kenobi, and I feel like this new format is going to allow for more people to have a say in the discussion. I'm always going to have different co-hosts. They're going to be different every week. I'm going to try all kinds of different combinations because I think that will really enrich the show. The goal also is for you to feel like you're sitting in a coffee shop and we're all sitting around having a cup of coffee, talking about what we love, and one of the things that we really love is Star Wars. So we turn now to our esteemed guests, and really, you can't have a brand new version of Coffee with Kenobi without these two guest co-hosts. Cory Clubb, of course, is the co-founder of CWK, is my longtime friend, Star Wars or otherwise. And James Arnold Taylor, well, simply put, one of the most talented, intelligent, entertaining people you will ever find, and one of our very favorite people.
Thank you very much. That's very kind. I'm in good company here today.
Ah, well, cheers, friend. I want to jump right in to a gentleman. Recently, we found out the release dates for Star Wars Episode 9 and Indiana Jones 5, and what they have for us is Episode 9 is going to be May 24th, 2019, and Indiana Jones July 10th, 2020. What are your immediate reactions?
Yeah, I think my first thought off the bat would be May's an interesting time. I think they traditionally have gone to December, so it's they're going back to May, what they've done recently with the prequels, and it's kind of a cool format to see that kind of return to the springtime, kind of the blockbuster movies of the coming year. And again, I think Indiana Jones, that's huge. I think it's a big release. I'm excited to see that kind of they have that timeline built out, and they're moving forward with that. So that's really incredible.
Yeah, it is good to see. It's always special when Star Wars comes out at Christmas time. That harkens back to even to my childhood a bit of just remembering Star Wars being a big presence in my life. No pun intended, presence with the T. But because under the Christmas tree there was all these wonderful Star Wars treats. But it's been fun having them there, but I do kind of miss that in the summertime, feeling like, that's the way to kick off summer is a good blockbuster like that. And apparently Marvel must not have anything coming out at that point, right? Otherwise,
right.
They're not going to compete with themselves, so.
Exactly. And I'm kind of with you on that one. When I first heard that they were going to come out in December with The Force Awakens, I thought, well, at least it's different. But at least it's around Christmas time. And now after The Force Awakens and Rogue One, I've become so accustomed to the lead up to Christmas. Besides hearing Bing Crosby and Nat King Cole, I get to be excited about new Star Wars. And then after Christmas Day, I get to go to the movies with my family. It's almost like kind of the break between Christmas Day and New Year's. So I won't say that I'm disappointed, but I do really enjoy the Christmas season for Star Wars.
Yeah, there's something, I don't know, for me personally, there's always been something kind of special about that time. So, and Indiana Jones, you'll never find a bigger fan of Indiana Jones. Raiders of the Lost Ark is my all-time favorite movie.
Yeah,
I've seen it literally hundreds of times. I won't tell you the exact number because people will think I'm just a complete nerd. Oh, wait, they already do.
You're in good company.
Over 400 times, I've seen that film. As a kid, I played it on a loop. it was my first VHS. I still have a copy of it on VHS, the copy I had. There's something very special about those films. However, as a huge fan of Indy, I've never even gotten through all of the Crystal Skull. So I'm hoping that 5 will not be in that same vein. But so,
I love that. And actually, I remember because this is the third time you've been on our show. I remember the first time you were on, you had said Raiders was your favorite, and Cory and I are exactly the same. We love our Star Wars, but nothing beats Harrison Ford and Raiders of the Lost Ark, for sure.
Yeah. There is a perfect...
Yes.
Perfectness to that film. It's exactly what we all needed to kind of show us what the old serials were like that George Lucas was inspired by and Steven Spielberg were inspired by. But when he made Star Wars, he was inspired by these. And then Raiders was the perfect fruition of that dream of creating the old serial character. And serials, of course, I'm meaning the old ones that ran before, not actual serial. Look at me, I'm just doing all these double entendres with words. But so I think, kids can look back at those films and go, wow, these are really neat. But it's I don't know. It's something really special. It's a special type of movie.
I agree with you. And I've heard a lot of people saying that, well, July 10th, 2020, Harrison Ford will be, 74 or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, it's conceivable that they're going to film it probably at least 2 years before that, and then all the
I would think so.
post stuff and effects. And I mean, I think we would all love to be in shape as Harrison Ford is right now, let alone when he's 74.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think people also have to remember that it takes maybe 3 months at the most for the actors, the principal actors, to shoot their stuff. It's, obviously there's a lot of post-production and things that go in afterwards, but especially these films that are so effects heavy, they need sometimes almost a year to do the effects and things now. And then the promotion and all of that. There's so much involved in all of that. So yeah, it's surprising what's already shot. People would be very surprised to know what is already shot in the world of Star Wars and Marvel and all of that, what they already have done.
I was going to say, too, I mean, having Harrison Ford back for this next film was great. I think I'm glad he's still doing it. I mean, we look at, older actors like Clint Eastwood and things like that. I think they're definitely still in their prime. I mean, they do a great job of bringing some of that old Hollywood back to the films of nowadays. So I think it's really neat to see that still kind of up and going.
Absolutely, yeah, and hopefully it will have that old flair. I would hope that George Lucas has got his hand in some of it as well.
I hope that too. He pretty much said, "Well, no, I'm retired," but. Yeah, I find it hard to believe he wouldn't at least come on the set. I mean, he was on the set of Rogue One. Surely he'd go on there with his old friends. And I love that you said that about Crystal Skull. So it's fair to say you were not a Crystal Skull fan.
No, I honestly, I couldn't get through it. And I mean, I am, again, you don't get a bigger fan of Indy than myself. It was painful for me. I've done a lot of Shia LaBeouf's voice doubling. I think he's a fine actor and all of that, but I didn't like that storyline either. And I don't know, it didn't hit for me. It was not but I'm sure somebody could talk me into it if I had to finish watching.
Here's my brief proposal that I'll let you see what you think about this. All right. The reason I enjoyed it so much, and I honestly think it's my second favorite indie film. Maybe I just need medication. I don't know. But the thing is, the juxtaposition of Harrison with Shia LaBeouf. Obviously, it's not Sean Connery and Harrison Ford, but the father-son thing and how the torch is passed, and now Indy is the father. I found that really invigorating. And there's a really wonderful moment at the end where he talks about how the problem with all the women in his life is that they weren't marrying, and those two scenes just do it for me.
Okay. Well, I'll maybe this weekend. I have planned to do a lot of nothing this weekend, which I have not done in a very long time. So maybe I'll finish it up this weekend because it's in my iTunes.
Oh, that would be fun. And I know Cory. I think Cory is more in your camp as well.
Yeah, I'm not a big, huge Crystal Skull fan, and I think over the years, I think it's come around a little bit to me. And I want to say it's just kind of was a right time, right place type thing when it came out. It wasn't. It was everybody excited for it, but it was just kind of Shia LaBeouf was kind of at his peak in the sense of his acting career, and it's just kind of what people were the critics were kind of giving it a hoo-ha type thing. And Harrison Ford was getting older. The special effects were kind of wishy-washy. And so, I guess that's kind of where I put it. And a lot of people who say that, Indiana Jones goes after religious artifacts are always better films.
Well, that's true.
I don't know if this would be true.
I agree with that.
Film, but I don't know if that's something true or not.
Yeah, the parts I felt, which Hollywood is in this in general, that they kind of get into this works, this formula works. I felt it was the most formulaic of all of the indie films. Mm-hmm. Like they never tried, and that's the brilliance of George Lucas. I'm a George Lucas purist. I know there's people that, but it's like he never went and said, oh, remember we did this in Star Wars? We're going to do the same thing in Empire, or we're going to do it in the prequels. He never tries to recreate. He always is telling forward his story. And I felt like there was a lot of, we have to put him now in the professor mode with the glasses again and teaching a class. And, and then I felt that same way with Force Awakens as well, that they had to relive moments. And I don't want them to relive them. I just want them to tell new stories with the same characters.
Well, I agree, and that actually leads perfectly to our next segment. So we're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we'll have a quick segment with Leland Shee that Cory and I recorded previously, and then we're going to catch up with Jat and pick his brain about The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and all things James Arnold Taylor. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Coffee with Kenobi. Oh, pass the cream, would you?
A big reason for the success of our show is our CWK Patreon contributors, including Jason Hall, Dennis Keithley, Angela Souse, Mediocre Jedi, Mike Audette, Adam Leonard, Christopher Ripley, Swara Sala, Jared Cantor, BJ Smith, Eric Struthers, Nick Deco, Aaron Harris, and Mark Suter. It's a monthly donation that goes towards show expenses, equipment, and travel. It really makes a difference too. Plus, there are a number of incentives that we've added that help you get more involved with the show. For example, a donation of $10 or more provides you with a link to an exclusive Google Hangout where we will have our own Star Wars discussion. This is something new that we're going to try. I think it's going to be fun. Actually get to converse with everybody face-to-face, so to speak, as we talk about Star Wars. It'll be once a month. Patreon contributors who donate $35 or more a month are going to get the newest show 12 to 24 hours before anyone else. Increments of 50 or more for a specific amount of time will get you access to all the previous rewards. And depending on your donation, we'll guarantee you that you co-host with me and another guest co-host for anywhere from one show all the way to an entire month of shows. There are also t-shirts and coffee mugs involved. Check out the link on our webpage or the show notes for more information. So here we are with Leland Shee on the convention floor. Leland, how has Celebration been for you so far?
Oh, it's been incredible. We have the Last Jedi panel this morning, and getting Ryan Johnson out there talking to fans. I mean, he was out there for 4 hours talking to the people in line. That was incredible. And then newcomers like Kelly Marie Chan. I'm really excited for her Rose character. So it's really, I always get excited for the new people that are being brought into Star Wars. That's what excites me most. So we got, I just came out of the Heroines of Star Wars panel, and we had Ashley Eckstein there and Tia Sircar, and then Daisy Ridley shows up, and then we had in the audience we had Dave Filoni was on the panel, but we also had Ghostbot who does the animation for that show, and we had the writer Jennifer Murrow also there, and Dave gave them shout outs. So it was really cool to let people know that what they're working on. So there's just so much Star Wars across all platforms. We've got books and games. We've got our Battlefront panel tomorrow, so that'll be super exciting. So I love it when the creators that and then the creators that you learn about at the convention. I love it when they get their first taste of the power of Star Wars fans.
I was going to say, it's got to be so rewarding for you because obviously you work so closely with it, and then you get to see the fruit of your labor start to come to life because you see the look on people's faces and you hear the cheers.
Oh, yeah. And we always like to talk about, how we get to have so many of those hits. We're the Star Wars junkies. We get the hit when the idea first comes, and then we get the idea when it first appears on screen, and then and then when the fans get it, so we get, and then when you see the final thing, so we're getting like 4 different hits of just pure Star Wars adrenaline every time. So it's really exciting.
And having George and Harrison on stage live,
my gosh.
and then John Williams. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I wasn't in that room. I was on the Star Wars show live stage, so I had to come down there. So I had to leave. I left around when Samuel Jackson that video started playing. So I got to see George go on, which I was really super excited, and I definitely wanted to see that. But I didn't. I missed the Harrison moment. I missed the John Williams moment, and Billy Lord going up there was just incredible.
She was really poised. I was incredibly impressed.
She did a great job. I think what he's talking about, the energy is so real, it's so tangible. You can just sort of touch it and taste it. And this is day 2 for us, and we're just experiencing more. You mentioned there's so many big things coming out. Star Wars is always having these great crescendos, I think, of announcements. And like you say, each panel seems like there's a little something hidden or something extra, and I can't wait for tomorrow.
People wait in line for hours or overnight. You want to give them a little something, and hopefully the people that waited in that last Jedi line got that little something that they feel was worth it.
And seeing Rian Johnson, he was clearly moved. He was emotional. That was nice.
Rian Johnson is the greatest. All that genuine heart is real, and he exhibits that every day. So it's so rewarding to see him get his time in the spotlight.
Good. Well, hey, thanks again, Leland, for being on the show.
Thank you.
We're back. You can't have Coffee with Kenobi without Obi-Wan himself, which is why there's no better way to kick things off with our co-host and also our special guest, James Earl Taylor. And James, I want to start with, and I know some of these stories you've told before, but maybe for some of our newer listeners, they haven't had a chance to hear this yet. And honestly, Cory, as we know, listening to James Earl Taylor tell a story is pretty much gold. So, James, we'd love to know your process for when you perform the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, you have to imagine Obi-Wan in your head. There is a process to it. First step is be a big Star Wars fan. I got that one covered. So, no, it was always just one of those things where I'm very blessed to do what I do. I'm very aware of that, and so I really try to have as grateful of a heart as I can. And any time I had a script in my hand where I got to be Obi-Wan, I would just give thanks for it first, and to hope to do honor to the writing and to these characters that are so important to so many people for so many different reasons. So that was really kind of my main thing was let me honor what I'm doing here and be grateful for it. And so much of that can come through in anything that any of us do. As long as we have a grateful heart, it really shines through our work. And I'm very proud of the work I did as Obi-Wan. I will say that as I watched the seasons progress in Clone Wars and such, my daughter, who is now 12 years old, this last year finally started watching Clone Wars in its entirety. She grew up, of course, being surrounded by it, seeing bits and pieces and clips and some episodes here and there. But now she's really able to watch it all and kind of take it in, because some of it was pretty heavy. And she's loving it. So I'm watching it with her, and I'm seeing the changes, like where I finally started midway through season 1, trusting that I did not have to do an exact replica of Ewan McGregor anymore, and I could make the character my own and put in hints of old Ben in there and Alec Guinness in my homage to him. And so the voice, so many people, which I'm very humbled by, people say, oh, I thought it was Ewan McGregor, which when I listen to it, I don't even really hear much of Ewan in it anymore. I mean, naturally, we have a very similar tone, and obviously I am trying to pay homage to him, but the character himself, I don't know, just became its own thing to where this was my comfort place. And if I was doing Ewan McGregor, you might hear there's just a little difference. He's up a little higher. It's just a little different. Then Obi-Wan from Clone Wars became this more Anakin, I don't know. It's very subtle. People may go, I did not hear a single difference in what he just did. But to me, I hear it and I see it in my head. And it really came from George Lucas saying to all of us, make these characters your own. And that was the part that really did it for me. So I don't know. I hope there's other chances to do them again in the future at some point, but at this point, I don't think there probably is, and so I'll just sit here and have a cup with Kenobi.
Well, I think I can safely speak on behalf of Star Wars fandom, which I've never said in my life and probably will never do again. But more James Arnold Taylor is better. It makes Star Wars better. I mean, truly. I mean, and I did hear the difference in what you're doing, because you're a talented guy and you've obviously got a huge passion for Star Wars and just for life. It's refreshing to hear just your attitude on all things. So I appreciate that.
Thanks.
I'm also kind of the worst transition ever, but I'm curious to see, what do you think of Rogue One?
Well, here's a funny story for you. I have not actually, I haven't done a lot of interviews since that. Now, I did voices in Rogue One. And so last October, I went to a ADR stage at Disney with all my friends there, including Matt Wood, who is, of course, the brilliant Oscar-nominated sound designer of Star Wars films and other films. And Matthew Wood was the voice of General Grievous, as well as all the battle droids in the films, as well as the Clone Wars TV show. And Matt was kind enough to bring me in to do voices for Force Awakens and Rogue One. And so I saw the movie that day in bits and pieces.
Wow.
And put my voice in throughout all the places, but I have not seen the film. I haven't seen the finished product yet. And, I'll be honest with you guys. This is the first Star Wars interview I've done in quite a while. This has been a rough year for me for Star Wars. The last, really since 2015, when they pulled the plug on Star Wars weekends. And then I was not asked back to Star Wars Celebration, and I was, of course, replaced as Obi-Wan in Rebels. It's been a year of transition for me, and kind of trying to figure out my place in Star Wars, and if I have a place in it anymore. And I don't mean that as a woe is me. I just mean honestly. And so I reached a point after doing the voices in Rogue One where I reached a little bit of a Star Wars burnout for the first time in my life, which I never thought would happen. But it was due to knowing probably too much. I don't get to experience it as a fan anymore. And that's, I think, one of the saddest parts of being somebody involved in one of your favorite franchises. Sure. So, so I didn't actually get to see the finished product. What I did see, I thought looked interesting and intriguing. And I certainly enjoyed the part where Darth Vader has his moment in the sun there.
Oh my, yes.
And I enjoyed being one of the guys, or actually several of the guys, that screamed and felt his wrath, we'll say.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, but it's been a transitional year for Star Wars for me, and we'll see where it all goes.
And look,
go
ahead, Cory.
I could chime in there too. I mean, just from my position and stepping down from my co-host role on the show here, and you're right, James. I mean, it's your life goes through seasons, and I wouldn't say I felt that same urge to the kind of the burn-up phase, and life is changing and evolving and always kind of taking a different place. Right. So I see where you're coming from. Really, it's very keen of you to put it so simply like that, and big of you to speak that way. And I think it's something that's. It's time for reflection and to kind of look at your life and be able to, like I said, even as a fan and a person of a professional in the industry too. I think it's definitely a way to take a second glance and take a look at your family, take a look at your profession and make the right call. So I definitely applaud you for that, sir.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah. It's, again, I love Star Wars. I especially love all the fans and the kindness that I receive on a daily basis from people, whether it be on social media or if I'm at a convention or I'm literally at a restaurant and someone walks by and says Obi-Wan, which happens on occasion, which is nice for a voice actor to actually get recognized. But because Star Wars has been such a huge part of my life, but it really has gone through a lot of changes over the last couple of years and the transitions. And I'm certainly not knocking it in any way. I'm I'm sad to not be as involved as I was, because I've always treasured being an ambassador for Star Wars. And so, so when you guys asked, I thought, I've actually not been available to do a lot of Star Wars interviews and such just due to my schedule. But then there's also been a lot of things where I've just been kind of like, I just don't know if I'm up for it. But when you guys asked, I could not refuse a cup of coffee with Kenobi. So this is my first endeavor back into all of it and to talk about it. So you guys, please feel free to ask me anything you want about it all.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, seriously, James, it just, even, when I get emails from you, I get this tingle because you are an ambassador for Star Wars. There is no question about that. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the show. I mean, it's just a fact of life. And look, Cory and I obviously went to Celebration Orlando, and truly wasn't the same. And there are a lot of reasons why. And I promise you, one of the reasons is not having you up there. Warwick Davis is fine. He's great. But you're James Arnold Taylor, and you just bring this sincerity and energy, and plus I like that you're a man of faith too. So I think
thanks.
that speaks to a lot of people. Don't ever forget, you are so important to this franchise forever.
Oh, well, I from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for that and for all of those kind words. But it's always kind of tough knowing all your friends are having a good time and you're at home watching the dog whisperer on TV.
Let me ask you this: you mentioned Rogue One and The Force Awakens, of course. So your name is in the credits for both films, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, that's about as good as it gets. I saw your name in The Force Awakens, and I saw it in Rogue One too, and I thought, that's got to be the coolest thing ever to see your name up there like that.
It is pretty cool. It's wonderful. It's also one of those kind of ironies of, well, James isn't really as topical in the world of Star Wars now as maybe other people are. And yet I've been in the last two films, and I was even in that episode of Rebels. So there's a part of me that kind of goes, well, guys, I think I'm as relevant as I've ever been, but
absolutely,
that's okay. There's nothing like seeing your name in that blue writing and seeing it with, of course, all my other Clone Wars family, too. Catherine Tabor, Matt Lanter, Sam Witwer, David Collins, who was, of course, worked on all sorts of things for LucasArts for many, many years as a director and such. We had Tom Kane. You cannot have a Star Wars film without Tom Kane. And so, it's always wonderful to see everybody and to reunite in that. And again, that is attributed to Matthew Wood and knowing he also, when it's not just him being nice to all of us, he needs people that understand the franchise, that understand the literal language of Star Wars. Because when you're doing an ADR session, so ADR is automatic dialogue replacement, or we call it looping for the films. So for for the fans listening that don't understand exactly what I'm talking about, the movie is pretty much cut and finished. There's some effects and things that need to be done. And then we go in as a group of people. Usually for these films, it's about 25 people, and men and women together. And we go through different scenes, and Matt has it all figured out as to, okay, we need crowd scenes here. We need scenes in the bar here. We need fighting scenes there. And we watch the scenes, and then there's these little beeps, beep, beep, beep. And where the fourth beep would come in, we come in and just fill in with voices and things. And so it's a fun job. It's not my normal 9 to 5 as a voice actor. It's very different from that. And there's a art form to looping. But when we did those, he definitely needed people that understood that. And, okay, we need an alien here. Well, we're all accustomed to all of it. Doesn't take much for us to think of that, So when Finn is looking for water on Jakku and he comes up against those aliens and they kind of, that's my voice in there, and, all sorts of troopers. And
that's awesome.
We had, I don't know if I shared this with you guys before, but so in Force Awakens, there's a wonderful, funny moment where Kylo is going crazy with the lightsaber, and those two stormtroopers come in, turn around. And originally, that was Matt Lanter and I voicing the two troopers. We were having a normal conversation of like, did you see those new, 816s? Oh, yeah, they're looking good. Oh, I think I'll go back this way. Yeah, I'm with you. It was that kind of a thing. But in the sound, it just didn't, there was so much going on sound-wise, they pulled that out. But, and of course, I was also, I laid all of the temp tracks down for Obi-Wan for the dream sequence with Rey. And it was originally me, and then I guess JJ liked it so much, he decided, well, we got to get Ewan McGregor in here and redo it. And then, of course, they used a little of Alec Guinness's voice in there as well. So it did take all three Obi-Wans to make that happen. I just didn't end up in the finished product, but it was a lot of fun to do.
You were the inspiration. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So when you're doing this, you don't necessarily know what's going to make kind of the final cut, but you all just get to just kind of work your magic, and because you know what you're doing, you're a professional, and you just kind of put your heart into it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And the one only problem I think that all of us collectively agree on is you end up seeing the movie before it's finished, and you're not then like everybody else, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier, not getting to experience it the same way that a fan would, which we all are. So, you kind of know. I knew back October of, 2015, what was going to happen in it, because we did the recordings for Force Awakens then. And then it was, a couple months later when the film came out. So, yeah, that's hard. That's hard to hold your tongue on. But
well, sure, it's quite a paradox, really. I remember George saying that as if I've ever talked to him before, maybe someday, wouldn't that be wonderful? But I remember reading that he said the nice thing about The Force Awakens for him is that it was the first time in his life that he'd ever just seen a Star Wars movie. That kind of blows your mind.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. I had not heard anything, about it from his perspective. So that's great to hear.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, James, you brought up a point earlier too about the folks that work on this industry and work for Star Wars. They know the right people. You brought up Matt Wood knowing all these folks that are really passionate about these characters, so he knew exactly who to bring in. So, I mean, as you tell these stories, which are great, I think he definitely has the right mind and the right eye to know exactly what to do to bring these stories to life. So. Yeah.
He's grown up in this. I mean, for those that have the prequel DVDs and such, you can go back and see in the making ofs, you can see Matt as a very young man taking notes from Ben Burtt, who is, in my opinion, one of the greatest of greats in the world of cinema. And for those that don't know, Ben Burtt is the sound designer of all the original Star Wars films, and he is a master sound designer and a performer, the voice of R2 and Jawas and troopers and everything. Ben Burtt is just amazing, and so Matt learned from the best, and it's wonderful. I'm just a sound guy. I'm an engineer. I love all this stuff. I'm a nerd when it comes to sound. One of my greatest moments was I think we were in season 2 or 3 of Clone Wars, and D. Bradley Baker and I were up at the ranch one day just watching episodes with Dave Filoni, and George Lucas was there, which is also just an amazing thing to sit in one of the small theaters, screening room theaters there at the ranch up north, and watch with George Lucas sitting behind you. And, when something funny happens, you hear him laugh, or something intense, you hear a reaction from it. That was one of the coolest things. But even more exciting for me was, I don't know more, but anyways, just as we then go to the commissary to have lunch, and it's Dave Filoni and D. Bradley Baker and I sitting having lunch, and Ben Burtt is across the way there having lunch, and of course gives us a "Hey guys" kind of a thing. And it doesn't get better than that for a Star Wars movie.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. We had wonderful times. At least once, probably twice a year, we would go up to the ranch, and my family, we would go and stay. And my daughter has absolutely no concept of what she got to experience in her life as in this world of Star Wars, being up there on a regular basis. One of my favorite moments when she was 4 years old, we're in an elevator. It was the season 2 premiere, and we were doing all these publicity things. We had the Boys and Girls Club there, and we were at the Presidio out in San Francisco, and we're in the elevator, and Lynn Hale, who is, of course, the wonderful, wonderful publicist for Lucasfilm, Lynn says, Lydia, who just loved my daughter Lydia, and she says, Lydia, would you like to meet George Lucas? And she goes, yeah, sure, And George is right behind her in the elevator. We're in this packed elevator, and there's George Lucas just, with just very pleasant smile on his face. He's crammed in the corner like anybody else crammed in the elevator. And he puts out his hand. Hello, Lydia. How are you? And she, hi, I'm very nice to meet you. And it was just one of the sweetest things and a wonderful memory for me. And then, of course, Lydia got even better than me. She, Lynn, we had dinner at the main house at that point, which the main house is this beautiful home there. And George's office is there and the archives are there. And I'm sure all the folks listening to Coffee with Kenobi know of the Star Wars archives. And
yes.
Lynn took Lydia down into the archives and up to George's office and showed her all around because she was 4. So she knew that there were no secrets that could be, given away. So she got the run of the place. And so she tells those stories fondly now as a 12-year-old, but of course has very little memory of it.
Wow. I mean, I've been fortunate to be at Lucasfilm on 2 occasions, but I've never been to the ranch. I've certainly never met George Lucas. Wow, that's a great story. That's a great story.
Yeah, again, I'm a purist when it comes to all of that. I just love what he did because, again, we're all here talking because this man had a dream and pursued it and didn't want to go the normal Hollywood route and believed in it enough and put it out there and showed it to his close friends who happen to be some of the greatest filmmakers in the world, Coppola and Spielberg and the like, and took notes from them and then made this little movie, named Star Wars. And it's kind of a fascinating, fantastic thing. It's like the Beatles playing, She Loves You, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah. It doesn't get better than that.
Well, thank you, James. That was fantastic. Really fantastic. What a great way to kick off the show. I'm very, very pleased. I'm sure glad we named this Coffee with Kenobi. That's for sure.
Well, indeed, yes.
So when we return, Tom Gross will join us to do the news. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Better than one of those coffee chains. It's Coffee with Kenobi.
May the 4th is the perfect time to download the Star Wars digital card trader collecting app from Topps. There's so many new sets to choose from and all kinds of different cards. I actually just downloaded the free May the 4th card that is at the gold outline and it's got Yoda on it. It's a really nice one. Another great thing about the Star Wars card trader app is that it features incredible images from the original trilogy, the prequels, the Clone Wars Rebels, and The Force Awakens. It's also easy to get into and really fun too, of course. Your favorite Star Wars characters, scenes, and moments are in every pack. After you download it, open the app each day and you'll get free credits to spend on card packs from the Cantina. Can't get what you're looking for? There's a place to trade with your friends as you complete your Star Wars collection. Plus, it's all free. And for experienced collectors, there are exclusive cards, special inserts, and even autograph opportunities. Don't worry about missing the cards you want either, as you can sign up for notifications right on the app. Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps can be downloaded for free from iTunes or Google Play. Be sure to download the app and start your collection today. The Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps is available now, and remember, these are the cards you're looking for. We are in the news segment of the show, and Tom Gross joins us. He's our new Coffee with Kenobi newsman. I'm pretty excited about this. I knew that I wanted to incorporate news. One of my favorite things about the original format of our program was when Cory and I would just sort of talk off the cuff, and we'd get ideas for news and topics that were out in the world of Star Wars. So I wanted to incorporate that into the show in some way, and I thought it would be fun to have different banter. And I know since Tom and I work together, and Tom, of course, has been on 2 episodes of Rebels Reactions, 2 episodes of our Star Wars Reads Day, and then he joined us at Indiana Comic Con for our coverage, which is the first convention we ever covered, by the way. So I knew what kind of banter and how intelligent and funny Tom is, too. So this just seems like a perfect fit. I'm glad you're doing the news for us.
Well, thanks a lot, Dan. And wow, you make me sound so great.
Well, it's easy
I
to
really
tell the truth,
appreciate
right?
that makes it sound very professional. I truly appreciate that. And so, well, hello, everybody. I wanted to know if you'd seen the new Mark Hamill video where he comes out and he pranks these super fans who are called to the studio thinking that they're there to be filmed to read classic lines from the 40th anniversary of Star Wars. But then, have you seen it? Where Mark Hamill then sneaks up behind them and surprises them, and their reactions are classic. Did you guys get a chance to see that and catch the reactions?
Yeah, I saw that actually this afternoon. It was pretty great. And Mark Hamill he's always a great guy. I think he just goes along with it so well. I think the other thing too is it's cool to see people's reactions and go, they're really trying to be in the moment, and then all of a sudden Mark Hamill's behind you breathing down your neck, and you're kind of torn of like, oh, what am I supposed to do? And I think like, well, man, what would I do in that situation? You put yourself in those shoes and you think, that's what a great time.
When is it Omaze? Let's say Omaze, just for the purposes of this. Do you know?
Okay. I think it's Omaze.
It is okay. Well, let's say Omaze for the purposes of the show.
We'll go Omaze.
Let's do that. That's the official pronunciation of Coffee with Kenobi now. But Omaze does this great stuff too. They did it right after Celebration when they had John Boyega coming up behind people and surprising them doing these poses. Mm-hmm. And Mark Hamill just he's one of the few guys from Star Wars we haven't gotten to see live. Every Celebration we're at, we just always seem to be away. Although, Corey, you've seen him live.
Yeah, I've seen him live. I saw him in Anaheim. Yeah, he was great.
He's just got this personality. He doesn't take himself seriously, but his talent is serious, and he has fun. The way he surprises the fans. One of my favorites is when he had the Darth Vader mask on.
Yeah, I like that one too. I have to say though, when Corey, you mentioned like what would your reaction be? I'm afraid that this is going to show like the soft side of me, but I think my favorite reaction is Natalie. She's the gal in the yellow who's holding the saber out to replicate the end of Force Awakens, and Hamill's standing there with his hood pulled over his face, and then he throws the hood back and says the funny line about the hand, and she instantly like hugs him like it's a long lost relative, or I'm afraid that's probably what I would do, but I'd probably actually fall to the ground. But I just, it's a testament to, I think, the characters and our love for the characters. But then beyond that, it's like seeing the actor and you think character and actor, and it just shows so much relationship between the fans and Mark Hamill, and it sure would be the same reaction for any of them.
He's such a unique guy too. I mean, I don't know if you want to say he's as legendary for voicing the Joker, but it's pretty close. I mean, his Joker for me, I mean, Heath Ledger's is another level. Mark Hamill is just kind of a different stratosphere in his own right, because most of my fondest memories about Batman as a character is from that animated series, the Bruce Timm animated series, and a lot of that's because of Mark Hamill.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, when bringing Mark into a situation like this, he's almost like a sketch actor. He does really off the cuff things. I think he really goes with the flow very well. And like you mentioned, one of my favorite scenes he does with one of the folks there is he's got his hand pulled down under his sleeve, like he's missing his hand. And he's like, wasn't there a hand attached to that or something? Oh, it's so funny. I think. And the other thing you mentioned, the final little trip there with her handing the lightsaber off to him, and he had his hood kind of pulled down. I thought, would you know that's Mark Hamill? Like, would you be like, wait a minute, they really did a good job of this guy standing in doing this, looks just like him. I mean, they couldn't get anything better.
What would you do, Corey, if
I think
it
I
was
would be
you?
looking, I'd pull that hood back and be like, it's Mark, I knew it.
Oh, really? Is that what you would do? What do you really think? What do you both think that you would do, honestly?
I think I agree with Tom. I think I would either hug him or,
hard to know,
kiss his feet. I don't know. I'm not worthy. Yeah, I
definitely think I'd do the man hug. The one handshake you pull in. That's what you got to do.
So amazing. But hey, according to the Omaze website, there's a bonus experience that was promoting, offering from May 3rd, so yesterday, to May 9th, an additional winner will have lunch with Mark Hamill. So you could find out. It just wouldn't be the surprise.
It's bittersweet, really, that whole thing. But sorry for jumping in, but I donated last week, so I apparently am not eligible for this. I mean, the big draw here is you get to go to Skywalker Ranch, right? Mm-hmm. And you get to what are the things you get to see? A New Hope there. You get to see an advanced screening of The Last Jedi. You get to tour Lucasfilm. I think you go to Lucasfilm.
I thought you were on. I think you had to go through you're on set for Last Jedi or something
you're
like
on
that.
set.
Or
you're on set for the Han Solo
8.
movie. You might even
Han
be
Solo
in the
movie.
Oh, Han Solo. That's right. Yeah.
And it's a good thing
Yeah.
I've done my homework on this. And so then at Lucasfilm, you get to watch New Hope, and then you get to go. I think you get to spend the night at Skywalker Ranch.
Spend the night
and you
at
get to go
Skywalker
through the
Ranch.
archives.
Does lock you in?
If I ever get to go to the archives, to me, I don't think it gets much higher than that as far as awesome factor. I mean, most creators don't get to go through the archives, so that would be kind of the pinnacle.
So, in other news, StarWars.com today posted an exclusive excerpt from The Guardians of the Whills by Greg Rucka, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, the cover is phenomenal. I mean, I would buy it just for the cover, and I'm that kind of librarian who loves a book by its cover. But the excerpt is posted on StarWars.com, and it starts off with this just sort of banter between Chirrut and Baze about Baze wanting a new blaster and Chirrut saying, just use your old one. And they talk a little bit about shopping and then it becomes a little bit of a chase. And so have you guys had a chance to look at that and any comments about it?
I've read this book already. Disney was kind enough to send me an advanced copy, and I just finished it yesterday because I knew I needed to get the review out. And this is an amazing book, and I don't say that lightly. I like those two characters, Chirrut and Baze. I like them fine. I thought they were intriguing, but they were ancillary characters. This book gives them soul. It gives them a lot of personality. And I'm most impressed with Rucka, who, by the way, Greg Rucka is amazing with comics anyway. I'm pretty sure, I know he's done a lot. One of the best things I think he did was when DC did 52, and they had a weekly comic for an entire year. Still one of the best miniseries or series I've ever read. So we know that he knows how to do characters. And what he does with Baze, it made me really interested in him. It gives him kind of a, behind that rough exterior, he's got this nice gooey caramel shell inside. It's a great book. The cover is awesome too, by the way. I couldn't agree more. It'd be a nice poster to have.
Yeah, it's cool because I think these two guys definitely came out of the film kind of wanting to know more, wanting to follow their story, where are they from, how do they get to know each other type thing. And I would hope that the rest of the book would explore that. I haven't got my hands on it yet, but I think they're definitely like, if you want to pick out two characters from Rogue One, they're definitely like the buddy cop type mentality of like the guys hanging out and doing their own thing, but kind of the banter, day-to-day banter and such in the Star Wars universe. So I think this is definitely something fun to check out, and I'm looking forward to reading myself.
Well, I mentioned in the review that there's the risk in something like this. The buddy cop thing is a good archetype as an example, Corey. And there's definitely a risk that you could fall prey to that, or just have a bunch of moments of banter that Tom mentioned that don't seem authentic. They just seem forced. There's nothing forced about this book. There's nothing that follows some sort of an archetype. When it does, it's in a strong way, and it takes you interesting places. It really is. The big thing for me always with these books or anything Star Wars is that they are sure to tell a story that needs to be told. And I won't give any spoilers, but there's some certain background information that makes Rogue One, it'll just give you kind of a little bit more of a smile. It's quite an Easter egg, but it's a great book. What can I say? Be sure to check out the review, but it's awesome.
Yeah, I look forward to that. I think Star Wars always does a nice job with the partner characters, Han and Chewie, and not to simplify it, but Han and Chewie and 3PO and R2, and here is another opportunity for something like that. Well, do we have time for one more story?
Yeah, let's do one more.
All right. So, according to Fortune and Variety, Disney announced that it's merging Maker Studios with the Disney Digital Networks. It's reported that Disney's announcement combines all of the digital-first businesses together. And according to Variety, the Disney Digital Network reaches more than 1 billion followers across all platforms, and it's really Disney's foothold in their effort to reach Gen Z and millennials. And so when you look at the Disney Digital Networks, they have 8 brands. Now I didn't do my homework, and I need to count. I go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 brands in the network, and StarWars.com is one of those.
It's an impressive thing. When this came out, I saw it on Anthony Carbone's Twitter feed, and he is, of course, one of the co-hosts of the Star Wars show. But it looks like he is doing, and this is huge, by the way. This is obviously a big deal, a huge business deal. And I believe Tom and I were talking about this earlier today. It seems like they're basically taking all of their major kind of channels and they're doing something with them. With Star Wars, they're doing a science and Star Wars show that explores parallels between sci-fi and the real world. And I'm not sure how much shelf life something like this could have, but I guess if it's done well, and I have no reason to think that it won't, this could really be fascinating. It looks like they're also going to have it exclusively on Facebook too.
You know, it's cool too. They're reaching millennials, and that's an interesting dynamic, I think, because as our fast-paced day-to-day goes, I mean, anything like you said, I don't know how much kind of lifeline it has on it as far as like longevity, or if they're kind of just trying to shoot for the wind type thing and just putting ideas out there. But I think this is a great way to introduce, you know, newer fans to this type of material and this essence. And who knows? I feel like Disney's really taken a good chunk of Star Wars and just really diversified it in all kinds of different areas. And this is just another great example, I think, of them just kind of owning that material and just putting out great content.
Yeah, when I looked at that and I saw that Star Wars and science connection, I mean, you want to talk about, I know in my field of library science that maker spaces are a huge thing where kids take they take something and they make they take nothing and they can try to make something out of nothing, and it's all this STEM and STEAM programming, and this falls right into that. And Anthony Carboni is going to do a great job. According to Variety, the show is going to be sponsored by IBM, and he's going to have science experts alongside guest stars to talk about the Star Wars story and real world scientific breakthroughs that the saga has inspired. I can't wait to catch what those conversations are. And Dan, you're right. It's going to be exclusively run on the Facebook Anthology program.
Well, very good. Well, you know what? You passed the audition, buddy. You're definitely on full time. This is great fun. Great.
Hey, that is awesome.
Stories.
Well, this has been so much fun. And guys, that is the news. And we'll talk again next week.
You got it. Well, thank you, Tom. We are going to take a break, and we'll be back with a conversation about May the 4th. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Coffee with Kenobi. Oh, pass the cream, would you?
If you love Star Wars and love the excitement of chasing your favorite Star Wars collectibles, the Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps is for you. Download the free app from iTunes or Google Play and collect your favorite images from the classic 1977 Star Wars cards to the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, The Force Awakens, and much more. Collect and trade with friends new and old through the Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps. These are the cards you're looking for. We're in the coffee chat segment of the show now. Basically, the segment will not necessarily be topical as the show opening unless there's really something that's pressing that I think we need to chat about. So it might cover analysis, it might cover reviews, current events. It's really wide open, but as it happens to turn out, and the Force truly is with us, we get to talk today about this officially unofficial Star Wars holiday, Star Wars Day, May the 4th, whatever you want to call it. Really worked out great for our first show. I think it's a fascinating phenomenon. I'll give you an example. Last week I was picking up my dry cleaning, and the thing that I got dry cleaned was when I went to Lucasfilm the first time, I bought a Rebels crew jacket, the one that we used to always see Dave Filoni wearing. So I love it. And I loved it so much that I washed it and for some reason dried it, and I shrunk it about 2 sizes.
Oh, no.
Which was terrible, right? So then I looked online, and apparently if you wash it in really hot water and just hang it up and stretch it, it grows back, and it miraculously did. So from that point on, I thought, I'm dry cleaning this thing. So I take the jacket, pick it up, and the guy says, hey, that's a cool jacket. Well, thank you. He said, don't forget next Thursday. And I thought, next Thursday? And it's May the 4th. He said, yeah, have a good one. And I thought, wow, this thing is everywhere. What are you guys experiencing as far as May the 4th?
Oh, Cory?
Yeah, It's funny because it's something that you talked about your daughter earlier, and the new generation, upcoming Star Wars fans who are excited. They want every little squeeze they can out of Star Wars itself, and it's come down to a day. And I think it's fun because it's there's the marketing out there that they're getting fans excited, they're getting merchandise ready, and my kids always ask me, are we going out like midnight shopping or something, or what are we going to do something? There's something going on. What do we get? We get something new. Because, like any collector, any Star Wars fan, we're always looking for that next collectible or that next fun thing. And obviously, they have announced a couple of things, I think, a couple places just, within, Star Wars apps and online and things like that. So I think it's interesting to see something so small grow so large just by fandom alone. I think it's something I think Disney's really kind of taken the reins and played on it too, where they've incorporated some of the pins and things they have in the parks, and even carrying it on to May the 5th. So it's kind of fun to see that kind of grow in that way. And then again, like the generation of kids that are kind of just really just eating this stuff up and like waiting for the next thing. And it's fun to see that their eyes kind of light up and be excited for it. And I know we'll probably be doing something fun and crazy, shooting Nerf darts out of our Star Wars guns and lightsaber battles and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to that.
Legos in the middle of the night.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, that's not good.
No.
It's those little stormtrooper Legos. Yeah, Disney knows a thing or two about marketing, I guess. So they're not going to look a chance like that, a gift horse in the mouth, as it were. But it's interesting to me because I think of it kind of the way you both do. We all live in this world of fandom and within it, and then you see it in your normal life and you go, oh yeah, wow, it's everywhere. I was asked for many years when we were doing the Star Wars weekends, because it was just before it, the way it normally would work is they would fly me out a couple weeks before, or maybe a month before, rather, I should say, to do the pre-show stuff for Star Wars weekends, and we would shoot a bunch of videos and such. And so I'd spend the week in a studio shooting things. And so they always would have me record a May the 4th message. And one of the last ones I did, I was in my Obi-Wan Kenobi outfit that Disney had made for me. It was an exact replica of Obi-Wan's outfit from Clone Wars, and it's now actually at Rancho Obi-Wan. It's on a very small mannequin. They found a mannequin my size to put it on, and it's there to be seen by all that go to Rancho Obi-Wan, which I encourage people to do because it's a wonderful place to experience Star Wars in a very different way. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wore that outfit and did a little May the 4th message, and it played on the screens all day, and people still to this day comment on it. And that's, I guess, where I just go, I'm always amazed. But yeah, people, so I said to my wife earlier today, we were having lunch, and I said, oh, tomorrow's May the 4th. I'm going to have to, of course, be on the Twitter and stuff, because people will be just as much as any other holiday. They'll be, giving me wishes and things, and so it's like, okay, very good. It's fascinating stuff. It really is.
It really is. I did a little digging on the history of it. Apparently, really, once the internet kind of became the internet, it sort of became this grassroots thing. And apparently, when Margaret Thatcher won the election, became Britain's first female prime minister, they took out a half-page spread in the London Evening News, and they put, "May the 4th be with you, Maggie. Congratulations." That's
wow.
Pretty heavy stuff.
Yes, it is. That's actually amazing.
It's crazy. And so this morning, or no, not this morning, a little bit ago, right before I started recording the show with you guys, I said to my wife, "Don't forget tomorrow's a holiday." And she said, "What?" I said, "May the 4th be with you." And she laughed really hard. And she was like, "Wow, okay, Dan." But I think she's going to wear a Star Wars shirt. So I feel like that's a victory.
God bless our wives. Yes,
that's right.
That's exactly
people
right.
They always ask my wife Allison, "Oh, are you a Star Wars fan?" And she was a Star Wars fan as a kid. She grew up with it and enjoyed it, but not the same as most boys enjoyed Star Wars as a kid as I did. But it's just to be immersed in this world as much as she has for the last almost 16 years now. It's kind of amazing. To step back and look at it. And again, my daughter's entire life, she's been just, immersed in Star Wars. And having also one of the strangest. I mean, she's met everybody outside of Harrison Ford. That's about it. And so many of these people, she's just like it's like Uncle Matt and Uncle D and Aunt Kat and Aunt Ashley. It's like we have such a family of Star Wars, and so it's crazy to think. I forget that it also touches out into the entire world with this particular day. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
It's pretty wild. I do wish that they would embrace it sort of officially, just so I could get some more merchandise. But maybe that's a good thing. In my wallet, it's like, Dave, maybe that's good. So yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be fun. We're going to have a fun time celebrating it, and it'll be interesting to see what we see online and things of that nature. So we're going to go ahead and take another break. We'll be back with your emails and tweets. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Better than one of those coffee chains. It's Coffee with Kenobi.
Before we get to email, I want to thank our CWK sponsor, the Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps. Please support them the way they support our podcast. Remember, you can listen to new and archived shows of Coffee with Kenobi wherever you listen to podcasts, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you enjoy listening to your favorite shows. You could even listen to it right on our website, www.coffeewithkenobi.com. And if you listen to the show through iTunes, please leave us a review. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest, and we'd love for you to check us out there. I'm really looking forward to focusing on Instagram, and I'm going to do something where we try to do those Insta stories, and I'm going to feature different things from my collection. Today, for May the 4th, if you're listening to this on May the 4th, you are going to see on Instagram and Insta stories me looking a little bit closer at the Kenner Death Star, which I just picked up recently. A lot of fun. From Morgan Malley, what really got me deep into Star Wars was the Clone Wars and this podcast. I absolutely love the discussions and thoughts you invoke on the show, particularly with your guests. It's always great to hear fresh perspectives and something other than your basic media interviews and news stories about Star Wars. The discussion is always interesting and respectful, but not overly agreeable. You found the perfect formula.
Give the evacuation code signal.
So a huge thanks to James Arnold Taylor and Cory Clubb for joining me today. And gentlemen, please tell everyone where they can find you and all the exciting things you have going on.
Well, please, Cory, go first. I won't use the Jedi mind trick to convince you.
Well, if Obi-Wan insists, I'm sure. Sure, you can find me on Twitter at Cory Clubb. You can follow me there. I'm on Instagram as well as Facebook. Kind of all over the place, doing my thing. You can contact me at Cory C at Coffee with Kenobi if you want to get a hold of me through email. But yeah, it's kind of weird and wild out there. I post things. I do a lot of grilling. If you're into grilling, I like to grill as well. And so I'll throw stuff on Instagram, so check that out. And it's been fun. But yeah, check those out.
Well, my wife is convinced that you're going to start some sort of a grilling podcast. And when you texted me the other day and said you were starting a grilling podcast, I thought, what in the world?
No, not yet. No grilling with Grievous or something like that. So.
Oh man.
And James, what about you?
It's never a dull moment as a voice actor, and I'm so blessed to do what I do. And so I just recently had a chance to do my one-man show talking to myself, which was called Obi-Wan and Beyond for people that know it from Star Wars Weekends. And so I just did that at a small theater, but a wonderful theater out in Burbank, California, called the Colony Theater. And we did it to raise money for children that were underprivileged or underrepresented to be able to learn a trade, a craft in theater. And so we were raising money for that and to get them all to learn, to how to be directors or lighting or costume or whatever within the theater world. And so that was fun. So I did my stage show there, and I Obi-Wan stuff, all the holograms and the pieces, and I'm reworking the show now, and I'm having a lot of fun with this YouTube stuff. I kind of did it as an experiment last year, and it went really well. And so then this year I decided that I would do a video version of my book that I wrote a few years ago called JAT 365, which is just daily inspirations just to keep people upbeat. I did it originally because when I got onto social media, I said I want to do something positive on it because there's enough negativity out there. And then I decided I had a whole book's worth of them, and then I decided to make video versions of it. And so they're usually about 60 seconds of video you can find on my YouTube channel if you just go to youtube.com/user James Arnold Taylor, or it might even be Jat Actor, both. I think either one would work. But so on that, you can see those videos. And so I'm producing those on a regular basis, as well as vlogging. And I've created a bunch of new shows that I'm going to be putting out, one of which, Star Wars related, will be called Clone Wars Conversations. First one I do will be with Anna Graves, who, of course, for those of you that know Star Wars and Clone Wars, she is the Duchess Satine and Obi-Wan's one true love. And so I could not kick that show off without having a conversation with Anna Graves. So that'll be happening at some point in the coming months, as well as just a bunch of great shows. One of my dearest friends in the world is Tom Wilson, who was, of course, the actor known most notably as Biff in Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And Tom is an amazing artist and friend and an amazing actor. And so I had him on. I interviewed him, and we do my show called The Jat Show, the James Arnold Taylor Show. And I recorded the first episode, and so I'm editing it all myself and putting it together. So that'll be out soon on the YouTube channel. Let's see, we have a film coming out very soon called Animal Crackers. It'll be out, September, so maybe not that soon. But I just saw a cut of it yesterday at Warner Brothers, and I got to take my wife and my daughter. And the cool thing about that is my daughter is actually in this film, and she plays the daughter of John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, who are married in real life, and they play a husband and wife in this film called Animal Crackers. Written by a dear friend of mine, Scott Christian Saba, who is a writer of wonderful children's books and teen books and comics and things. And this film is a really, really delightful family animated feature film. Ian McKellen plays my brother in it. Gilbert Godfrey's in it. Patrick Warburton.
That's great.
Raven Simone. Let's see, Wallace Shawn. There's just some amazing actors in it. And then myself and Tara Strong, who's another fantastic voice actress, and Lydia Rose Taylor makes her debut as Mackenzie in the film. So that is coming out soon. And I got to tell you, I'm a product of the 80s. The coolest thing for me yesterday was sitting next to Huey Lewis, who did a song in the film, and getting to chat with him for a while. I was a huge Huey Lewis fan in the 80s, and I still am now. Great. And he was one of the nicest, most humble people you'll ever meet. And I got to tell him that my wife and I got married 26 years ago, and the song we danced to was one of his songs. And so he was very kind to listen to me blather on about being a fan of his.
What song was it? I got to ask.
It's off of one of the late 80s albums, or maybe early 90s. It's called Small World, and the song is called World to Me, and it's You Mean the World to Me. And so it was kind of classic 80s, early 90s song of love. And so that's what we danced to for our first dance. And there's a great line in it about all the tea in China. And we look at that and laugh now when we hear it, because we never knew that we would be traveling to China all those years later to adopt our daughter. It's always wonderful to see these little moments in your life and reflect back on them. But people can follow me on Twitter, JAT Actor, Jat Actor. It's easier than writing out James Arnold Taylor. You can go to jatactor.com or jamesarnoldtaylor.com, both work, and check out all my links, hear my demos and my voice things, and go to my YouTube channel and see all that. And I respond. I'm on Facebook, but I'm not on it as much as I am on Twitter. That's really the best way to get in touch with me if you want to say hey, or give me a little thumbs up or a thumbs down, I guess, even as it were sometimes. But I prefer the thumbs ups.
Absolutely. Well, you're definitely going to see a lot of those, and we will certainly have links. I keep saying we. I keep thinking Cory and I are co-hosts. It's just so weird. It's kind of like getting a new bike. You know how to ride the bike, but it just feels a little bit.
You just want to share now, I guess, huh?
That's right. Huge thanks to James Arnold Taylor and Cory Clubb for joining me today. A special shout out to Randy Therio from Legends Library for helping me to make this mixer prepared for the show and helping me with the microphone. He's been quite an MVP for this new iteration, so thank you so much, Randy. Thanks also to Aaron Harris for helping me with the mixer too, and I hope you get well soon, my friend. We'll be back next week with 2 new co-hosts and more Star Wars talk. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
There's no one here. Move along.